Hey, I'm Bob at ILikeToMakeStuff. Today we're gonna make a tape measure way cooler. I started out with a really cheap tape measure from the home center and took out the 2 screws to remove the casing, being careful not to let the tape pop out. It's under tension because of the spring. I wrapped this in blue tape so it wouldn't go anywhere and then used the opposite side of the shell to trace the outline on a piece of wood. I cut that shape out on the bandsaw and then figured out the total thickness I wanted it to keep. I resawed it down to its final thickness and then cut that remaining piece in half. On the inside of each one of these pieces, I drew a line around the outside, giving myself a shell. This line gives me a reference to know where to cut and where not to. Then I picked up an end mill, not a drill bit. There is a difference here and it's subtle, but they cut differently. I mounted the piece of wood in my vise and then used a Dremel tool with the end mill to route out the area that I wanted to remove. Doing this manually creates a messy surface, so I tried to clean up the bottom with the chisel, but then realized that the pocket was just not deep enough. I went ahead and roughed out the other one as well, not cutting all the way down, and then took the bit out of the Dremel and put it into my drill press. I set a maximum depth on the drill press to make sure that I wouldn't go all the way through the piece of wood. Then I set the RPMs very high on the drill press and then moved the piece around underneath the end mill. The bottom was much flatter on these pieces and it took a while to get through it, but it helped a lot by raising the RPM on the drill press. This is essentially how a CNC works, and this is what I ended up with. On the belt sander, I flattened the 2 faces that were going to be glued together to make sure there wouldn't be any gaps. I lined them up and drew a line to cut out for the tape to fit through. I used a cutoff wheel to cut this little slot and made sure not to make it too big. I also cut a little slot in the post that I had left in the center of each piece, and this is where the spring is going to lock in. I undid the tape from the spring, pulled it out very gently, and then set that into the slot that I had just cut. I held the tape in place and fit the 2 pieces together just to make sure that everything fit correctly and the tape would move. Once it did, I used a screwdriver to hold it down again, added some CA glue around the outside of the wood, and then pressed the 2 pieces together. I went ahead and clamped it because I had forgotten to pick up the kicker for the CA glue, and I let it dry this way. After it was dry, I took it to the belt sander to sand off the outside and to round over the edges. It's a little aggressive, so eventually I moved to the orbital sander to get a smoother finish on the faces and to have a little more control in rounding over the edges. Finally, I moved to a sanding block to get a nice finish on the 2 faces. I covered the whole thing with a couple of coats of tung oil finish. This video is sponsored by GraphicStock. They've got the largest unlimited download library of graphics on the internet. Over 300,000 vectors, images, graphics, photos, everything you need for your projects. For $99 a year, you get unlimited downloads, everything you need, and it's all royalty free, so you don't have to worry about copyright infringement. If you want to test it out, you can get 140 free downloads in their 7-day free trial. Be sure to go check them out, graphicstock.com/YouTube. I'll have it linked right here and down in the description. I think this thing turned out pretty cool. I got this idea from a photo that I saw on Instagram, and the person who posted that photo was looking for the person who made the actual tape measure. I still don't have any idea where that photo came from, but it inspired me to try to make something like this on my own, since I carry one of these tape measures on my keys all the time. The one I made in this video is a 10-foot tape measure, but I normally carry a 6-foot tape measure on my keys, so I made a smaller one to start with. I actually made the smaller one on my live stream on Twitch, and so everybody who was watching that helped me figure out the best way to do it. This one's a proof of concept, and it's not quite as nice, but it helped me figure out a lot of the process to be able to make this one. As you can see, it's a little bit smaller because it's a shorter tape, and I added a little eyelet on the back just so I could hang it on my keys. The stem on it is a little bit too long, so I had to cut off the stem, drill a hole, and then drive this eye in with some CA glue to make it fit. But it is really strong, it's on there, it hangs on my keys, it works great. This project could be completely done on a CNC machine, but I know not everybody has access to one, so I didn't want to just do that. But if you do have access to a CNC, you could actually set up a single run to cut the outer profile and the pocket on the inside. You could mass produce these on a CNC very easily. You could also engrave your name or your logo in the side of it if you're using a CNC. There's a lot of different opportunities to make it custom and repeatable. But if you don't have one, you can use a Dremel or chisel and hammer, a lot of different other normal woodworking tools to do something very similar. Overall, kind of a small project, but I learned a lot by figuring this out, and now I have a custom tape measure. I'd love to know what you think about this project. You can let me know in the comments down below or at my website, ILikeToMakeStuff.com. I've got lots of other videos for you to check out, and all my social links are down there. That's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Beep.